Gosh, that song never gets old. Welcome back to Before and After. It's the podcast where we talk about movies, shows, music, games, and more. And now, I'm not going to lie, I heard Yanni. I'm Spence, and I'm joined by somebody who heard Laurel. Vince, how you doing?
I'm doing very good, Spencer. Another episode for us. We're talking about the after for John Wick 3. For this episode alone, we're going to go through our reactions a little bit more. We're going to go into our favorite scenes because there's a few great scenes, and then we'll talk about the stuff behind that and just behind the scenes in general. So we got a couple of things coming up, so let's get right down into it. John Wick 3, Parabellum, Chapter 3. We're coming off of Part 2, where at the end, he ends up killing someone inside the Continental, and you're not supposed to shed blood on those grounds, and he did. He finally just capped the bad guy, and I think we're all happy to see that. But at that time, the guy who's running it kind of gave him a chance to run away, but he had to put the hit out on him. So everyone is looking for John Wick, and that sets up Part 3.
$14 million bounty, and he has 1 hour to get to a safe spot. That is the greatest way to start a movie. I don't care what it is. That's just the best way to start. I absolutely love it. This movie, if you loved the first two John Wicks, it's the exact same stuff. And if you hated it, it's the exact same stuff. It's got that great, what do they call it, gun fu action. It's not karate, it's just people shooting at each other, and it's magnificent. I absolutely love it. Unfortunately, yeah, you saying that John Wick says probably the least amount he's ever said, that's probably right. It's the same mediocre script.
See, that's what I can't remember. Did he talk a lot in parts 1 and 2? 1 for sure, because they had to set up his story, but this one, it just seemed like they focused on his action. It seemed like it was in real time, almost.
Yeah, I feel like in the second one, he had quite a few lines, like there were scenes of full dialogue, whereas 1 and 3, I can't be too sure. But yeah, overall, I would say he's a lot quieter.
And not a bad thing, because he makes up for that in all of his action, which we'll talk about in the behind-the-scenes part, talking about how much he actually does. If he even needs a stuntman, we'll talk about it.
All right. I absolutely loved it, but what did you think about it?
I liked that they added another animal to the film. If you've been watching some interviews, you've seen that there's a horses in the film, and they play a part. I will say that. But just all throughout the film, the action scenes, I was more captivated by them, and they were with different people. I don't remember too much of 1 and 2 or who he was fighting exactly, but he always finds someone, and I think that's the best part. And in this one, they tried to find his counter, his someone to balance off and be just as good as him, I think. And it really sets up a great battle in the end. And it picks up right where it left off in part 2. He's still running. And we'll leave the spoilers there. But do you want to jump into some favorite scenes here?
I'm going to try and not give too much away here. But there's a scene that takes place in the New York Public Library.
Now, that was filmed with a basketball player.
Yes, it was.
Bogdanovich, something like that. But he's like 7 feet tall.
Yes, he is.
And you see that. But
he's a giant in the movie. But that scene was mind-blowingly amazing. I'm just going to say one word. Book. That's it. If you've seen it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you've not, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This was when I was in the theater. Now, I never saw the first two John Wicks in theater. I've only seen the third one in theaters. Everybody inside the theater, the reactions...
Oh, other people...
Especially in that scene was, it was incredible. This was, without a doubt, the funnest movie-going experience I've had in a long time.
See, I think I missed out on that because I got the smallest theater, because John Wick was out 2 weeks by the time you and me saw it. And I was in the smallest theater, and they have very big recliners in there, but it was just me, the person I went with, and one other creepy guy in the back. So I didn't really get too many reactions, other than my own. So I wish I would have had that. It would have built up the movie a little bit more to just have everyone freak out over what's going on.
I was in a packed theater, and sometimes the crowd can really take you out of a movie, whether it's somebody obnoxiously laughing way too much about something. But I had so much fun. Everybody's reaction, it was exactly what you were thinking. It was magnificent. I loved it. And I want to see number 4 in the theaters.
My favorite scene, I gotta go with, he's going to be riding on a horse, and you're probably going to see it in the interviews, which we'll get to, but he's riding on a horse, fighting ninjas. He was also fighting ninjas on a motorcycle, kind of similar situations, but it's John Wick baby, as he says, Keanu Reeves in his interview. And he had to lean on the side of the horse, and he had to pull out a gun and then keep shooting the people that were on the bikes. And like, it's just John Wick. It's perfect.
There's no other way of describing it. That is the best describer. If anybody's confused, it's just like, wait, what is this one again? It's John Wick. That is the greatest way of saying it. Ninjas in New York. It's not Ninja Turtles, but I still love it.
So I'm betting there's going to be a lot more favorite scenes for you. It's a 2-hour film, and you can kind of pick your favorites.
Yeah, it certainly is a little bit longer. The first one, I believe, is an hour and 40 minutes. This one, it's longer. I feel like there were some areas where you could have trimmed off a bit. I mean,
there was some fat in the film.
Like I said, there's not a lot of dialogue, and when there is, it's not Shakespeare. It's not profound or anything. So it is a little long, but it's definitely worth the time.
All right, now before we take a quick break, I want your thoughts on the text that would pop up during the film, because now I know that they've created a comic series. So I didn't know if you think back to the Marvel Spider-Man. What is that, Amazing Spider-Man they did the cartoon on?
Into the Spider-Verse.
Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah. They had comic book text in there, kind of created like a comic book. I love that. In here, they had text come up on the screen, and this isn't spoiling anything. It was kind of just putting the names of people or trying to translate their language and stuff like that. What did you think of it? Because it was like different colored text, and it would pop up.
When I saw the first one, it was just words that, like, when they would say the Baba Yaga, the boogeyman, that would be the one word that pops up unless they're speaking in another language. And I was just like, oh, that's different. That's different. But they did it more in the second one, and they definitely did it more in this one. And I kind of like it.
It doesn't make it too cheesy or anything?
I mean, not too cheesy in a sense that it's not over the top, but it's an over the top movie like you said, he's fighting ninjas in New York on a motorcycle. Just zaniness. Yeah, it's fine. Exactly. It's fine for me. What about you? What do you think of it?
Well, again, I always go back to that trilogy for Dark Knight. I like that dark aspect. Would you want John Wick to be set in that, or do you like how it is now?
Oh,
because it's kind of realistic and kind of isn't, obviously. And it works for that film and franchise.
I think it's the intrigue. We don't know too much about these characters. We don't know too much about their backstory. We really don't know much about John Wick at all.
Yeah, they're creating the world along the way.
And if you get too serious, but there's nothing really to that, there's no substance to the story, that can really take you out of it. So I feel like it's the right amount of cheesiness, if that's the right word. Going back to The Dark Knight, though, that is a fantastic trilogy, and it's hard not to compare movies to that.
He did something right, and we say that in all 4 of our episodes so far. One last favorite scene, I'll just say a thing. Ring finger.
Oh.
Good luck watching that. Now we're going to take a quick break and get back with some behind the scenes, all the stuff you've been wanting to hear. We've been scouring the internet, a couple Google searches here and there, but it's going to be good, so stick around. Some behind the scenes for John Wick 3 Parabellum. I'm going to start off with his interview he did on Ellen. Keanu Reeves was on Ellen. He's a much more quiet and reserved guy than you would think. This big Hollywood actor, very rich, successful, but he's very reserved, likes to keep to himself. You should read about him a little bit because you'd be shocked that he isn't just out partying or anything. He loves to just stay at home. Public transportation at that. Anyways, he talked about in there the horse scene that we mentioned before the break, and they had to train the horses, and in the scenes you'll see the horses may get violent, maybe, but he does ride a horse through downtown section, and it's really cool how he does it. But he had to train with that horse, and Keanu Reeves said that he's ridden a horse maybe a couple times before, and he kind of knew how to ride it. And I think you really do have to know how to ride a horse if you're going to act on it.
I'm very curious as to how they get the horse to act in general. I'm always impressed when you can get a dog actor to do something. How do you get a horse to do something?
That must be so many takes, I'd imagine.
Working with any live animal, I would imagine it's impossible. It's just great.
In the interviews, this might be from the Stephen Colbert interview that he talked about how they set up the horse. But you would imagine, he said, you're riding a horse, a wild animal. It could kick you off. You could get hurt. And Keanu Reeves is like, yeah, you could die, but it's all right. But he talked about how they had to hook up like a whole trailer in front of the horse and maybe something behind, but they connected wires to it. So if he did get flung off, he would go in the trailer or just wherever, somewhere safe. But it was really weird. And Keanu Reeves said, you're not going to see that in the film, obviously, but I hope they release something so you could see how they do set it up and just to see how the cameras are going, 100 miles an hour with that horse and the motorcycle with it. He also talked about how he did 85 to 90% of the action.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? Because that puts him with Tom Cruise, Jackie Chan, doing all of your own stuff. What do you think?
I am always so impressed when you hear an actor say that they do their own stunts as much as they can do. Daniel Craig, he does a lot of stuff for the Bond franchise. It is insane. The things that these people do, like Tom Cruise, he got injured. Mission Impossible
on the last
6,
one, yes,
I believe
he jumped from a building to another building, and his foot got caught, broke the entire foot. He was also flying helicopters while trying to act and fly, not crash into mountains.
One where he's hanging from a plane.
Yes,
that's actually him. Oh my gosh.
He earns his money.
So much respect for the people that are just like, because sometimes you can tell in certain movies where it's just like, oh, they're not showing their face during the scene. I just assumed, whichever person could roller skate this well. It's just, you can kind of tell sometimes. And I feel they just do a great job with it in this one.
It still amazes me what they can do and how quickly they can add in that stunt man or something and just seamlessly cut it together that you just have not a clue. And he was talking about one scene in there where he got hit into a backflip and did a handstand, stuff like that. He's like, that, not me. The rest of the stuff, me. All the guns and stuff. So he does the action, not the stunts. And he had to explain kind of what that was. And action, he kept saying John Wick action. It has all the different karate moves, all those different taekwondo, whatever. He does that stuff. But the scenes where he, gets hit by a car, that's when he has the other guy come in. That kind of thing he doesn't do. But the rest of it, he does all the training. And I think it's awesome.
I remember I believe it was press for the second one, he said, anytime I get hit by a car or fall down some stairs, it's probably not me. And then it's funny to think that there's several times where both of those things happen. So you're just like, wait a second. I feel like every movie he gets thrown down some stairs.
They just love hitting him or whatever. But yeah, you want to keep acting. So if he keeps doing this, I still respect him. He's doing 90% of that action, and that's a lot of fighting. And speaking about fighting, he said the biggest part was it would take a couple days to train and kind of choreograph the whole fight. But they had long takes. So you were talking about your favorite scene being in the library. And if you remember that, it's kind of like they did a long take. So the camera was on them for one full thing. They didn't do too many cuts at certain parts. So they were actually fighting for a while.
I feel like you can see that too. There's times in movies where it's just like, this is that same quick cut, choppy editing for any fight scene. Most blockbusters do that. Saves time, saves money, saves just a lot.
It does.
But for this one, there are times where it's just like, I feel like this is all one take. It's incredible.
And I loved it. And just talking about reloading guns, I don't know if you notice anything when he reloads a gun in the film. Because there's nothing quick about it. It's real time, him reloading that gun. It's quiet. They do less music. So it seems like you're actually there. It's more realistic.
Come to think of it, yeah. Yeah, he does reload. You never really see that in a movie. You're always reloading off screen.
Yeah, just real quick, pop in the clip. But he takes the time. You actually see him. He takes cover, reloads. I like that fighting style and that quietness. What do you think of that silence while he fights?
I feel like that silence really oftentimes in movies, there's almost never any silence, but I feel like the silence in this one really puts you in the action. Like you feel like you're in that room with him. It's amazing.
The other things were, there's some killing in John Wick.
Say it ain't so.
What did you think of the very graphic and gory way a couple of the people died?
Now, without getting into it, that was the funnest part. I'm not a gore person, but like I said...
They showed it.
Oh, yeah, they did. I'm not a gore person. I never like it whenever it's just like, oh, somebody's, getting stitched up in a movie. It's just like, that's gross. Don't show me that. But for this one, like I said, that movie-going experience, I was in a room, the theater was packed, and everybody's reaction was the same reaction. I loved it. I've never come out of a movie saying, gosh, I loved it when everybody else was talking. But this time was different. This time I loved it when there was gore because we're all in the seat going, ew. It was amazing.
Did you keep your eyes on it while another person's eyes got
There was
taken
one where I was just like, I don't think I can watch this.
I had to look away.
You just wince in your seat. It's incredible. I love it.
Well, getting back to the interviews that he did, an Ellen interview, and then Stephen Colbert, he did about 10, 15 minutes. Another thing he talked about was his co-star, Halle Berry. She played Sophia. And if you remember the other John Wicks, they have a blood bond. They have this little gold, it looks like a gold watch, but
the marker.
The marker.
Yeah.
You have a little pin on top. You cut your thumb and then you put the blood in there and you kind of give it to the other person. So they have to do anything as a favor. And in here, they bring that up. Sophia is the character in here, Halle Berry, and she got to train 2 attack dogs, 2 canines for 6 months. She got to work with them. What do you think about that dedication in that role?
She's not the main character of this movie. So it's John Wick, spoilers. So to dedicate yourself 6 months to a part like that, wow.
Especially training with dogs, attack dogs.
How many times this episode have I said, gosh, I'm so impressed with this. I cannot. You can't even think about it. It's just amazing the level of dedication that these people have for this. And yeah, I'm going to say it again. I loved it.
It's hard not to love this. So in there, Keanu Reeves talked about Halle Berry training with those 2 dogs for 6 months. You'll see plenty of that in the film. Dogs are a very heavy theme in John Wick, but he said he didn't put in that kind of time with the dogs. It's not his kind of thing. So when he got to play that part and play that scene, they just told him not to look the dogs in the eye.
Really?
Because if he did, Keanu Reeves is going to be in some pain. So that's all the training he got with those dogs. But Halle Berry, it was just like a parent, loving on the dog, had them with the commands and everything. That's her actually doing it, which I've seen movies and TVs where they have the animals there. I think they're directing them off screen.
Sometimes you can see them looking at like their instructor, and sometimes you can tell, and other times it's just, I feel like the dog's actually acting. I
don't know if you ever watched Frasier, but they have the dog in there, Eddie, and he's always moving around, but that's off-screen stuff. In here, Halle Berry's running the show. I think that's wonderful. So just to go back to what the dogs did, the dogs, canines, they had to attack at some point, and at one point they do bite another person's crotch, and in an interview, they had to ask the director, and he said the people that do get bit, the dogs do bite them, but they have a sort of like a mesh or Kevlar thing that they wear, and the dogs kind of bite down, and they don't get hurt. Nobody gets hurt. So that's good.
I would still be scared.
If it's coming at me and I know it's going to bite down there, I'm afraid.
I've seen a lot of people, training the canine unit, and you wear that full giant like fabric suit, and then the dog jumps at you and it's big enough to take you down. I'd still be afraid. I would.
We're going to take one more short break and then we'll get back with John Wick going further.
I gotta be honest. I may be looking forward to John Wick 4, but there's something else I'm looking forward to more.
What's that?
The Continental TV show.
Yes.
A TV show set in the John Wick universe, all about the Continental. To me, that's the most interesting part of the movies. It's also the most mysterious part of the movies.
Do we know much about it other than the basics?
No, we don't. You get just a little bit more each movie, but I'm going to be honest, I'm really, really looking forward to this TV show.
So many people in the film, they respect it too.
Right. Yeah. There's so many, we're probably going to see Winston or Sharon in these. I've never, when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. came out and they said, oh, it's a TV show set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I was just like, this is awesome. And then you watch it and you're just like, this is not awesome. So I'm hoping that they do a good job with this, but you're going to be seeing the same awesome characters, hopefully. And I'm looking forward to this.
And Keanu Reeves is going to help produce it. I read that. He's also going to reprise the role. So I'm assuming he's not going to be in there a lot, but he'll come in.
I wouldn't think he would be a main star in it.
No, but at least he's playing a part in it and producing it, helping to produce.
Always a plus when you get the same people working on the project. You get that one vision throughout the whole thing. That's just a recipe for success right there.
And he's also going to be working with Chad Stahelski, I believe, to do the TV show. He is the director of the John Wick series right now, and he was involved early on when Derek Kolstad, he's a screenwriter, he worked on a treatment about a retired contract killer coming out to seek vengeance, and it was entitled Scorn. So that was the original title for John Wick before they even met Keanu Reeves and had him in the role, and they wanted an older actor to play, so kind of in his 60s. What do you think about that?
I read that.
Would it have changed the whole series?
I feel like, somebody in their 60s or 70s, isn't that what Taken is?
Yeah, Liam Neeson. There we go.
I hate to always compare movies. It's the movie's like this or like that. But I feel like we already had that. I'm really glad that Keanu Reeves got attached to it and had enough creative decision to say, hey, let's make him younger.
And he called back to the people that he worked on with The Matrix. So they were a big part of it. That's Chad Stahelski, David Leitch. And they said they wanted to do it and develop this whole world with him. And it worked out that they went with a younger, well-known actor. So I thought that was cool and how they put that all together. It's an original piece. And it's just creative so much since then.
Chad Stahelski was actually the stunt double for Keanu in The Matrix.
Was he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
I was shocked to hear that, but this guy knows how to do stunts really well.
Well, they need it for John Wick.
I feel like that really helped them nail the intricate parts of doing an action scene, and I love it.
Well, other than that, how it got created, the TV series, as you mentioned, but they have a video game coming out, John Wick Hex. It's announced for May 2019. We're kind of in the beginning of May right now, but we'll see. It says it's a turn-based tactical role-playing game, and it's going to be published by Lionsgate Games. Any expectations for that?
I'm hoping that we see more of this thing at E3, because something tells me it's not going to be coming out in May.
It's too quick. Unless it's a really small game.
It better not be small. It better be a good sized game. So I feel like anything more that we can get at E3, I'll be happy. Give us a full trailer, because I don't even think we have a full trailer for this thing. It's like a little 30-second teaser.
Have you seen it?
I believe so.
Oh, I haven't. It hasn't popped up anywhere for me.
Not a lot of people are talking about it.
You got to seek it out.
E3, that's where it's going to happen. I'm hoping we see it there.
I just want to see everyone show up in the fully black suits. Excited for that game.
With ninjas. You got to have ninjas.
All right, well, it sounded like you had a game set up to wrap up this 4th episode of Before and After, so let's get right down to it.
That's right, it's game time. I never thought that this is something that could be done.
I'm a little worried.
But I looked it up. There's no way I actually counted this. You're going to try and guess John Wick's body count in every movie.
Oh, great.
Now I got them written down right here, and I have my guesses, because the website that I was on, you guess, and then you click to see the answer. So we're going to go all the way back to John Wick Chapter 1, as it's retrospectively called. And, I was thinking back. Now, I saw this one recently. And I was going to guess that he killed about 40 people. And I'm just like, that's kind of high.
In the first one?
In the first one. I was guessing about 40. What do you guess?
Well, I don't have enough fingers to count, sadly. 40 in the first film?
In the first film. 40 seems high. 40 seems high. And thinking back, I'm just like, that's high.
All right. You want a specific number? I'm going 65.
65?
In the first one.
It was 91.
No.
91.
I thought 40 was high.
It was.
You lied to me.
It was.
91. Wow. That's a way to open a huge series. Plenty of, that's a lot of fighting.
That's a lot of bodies.
Yeah.
It's an entire business. You see the cleaners when they go to clean his apartment. It's just, oh, gosh. All right, Chapter 2.
Chapter 2. Well, like in the Rambo series, it always increased. That was a huge thing. We wanted more violence as consumers. What did you guess?
After seeing 91,
yeah,
I guessed 100 because I felt like the scene right after he completes his marker, and it's like the tunnels of, where's he? I believe it's Rome.
Something like that.
And I was just like, there's a lot of people in there, but I felt like there was a little more dialogue in the movie, so I said 100.
See, I feel weird going higher than 100.
It just sounds like a lot, doesn't it?
It just seems too much. You don't see that many films. I'll go 120, just to up you there. What are we at?
You said 120.
120 on the dot. Did I hit it?
It was 119.
Oh.
You were so close. But still, 119
That's
people.
a big jump.
That's a lot.
Oh, my. Okay.
All right. And finally, John Wick, Chapter 3, Parabellum. How many do you think? I'm not even going to give you my guess because it was wrong.
It was nonstop. Bodies? Are we continuing with the trend that it's higher? Do I get that hint at least?
We got a longer movie. We got 2 hours and 10 minutes.
That means it's higher.
How are you going to fill those extra 10 minutes?
All right, so we had 119, 91 to start, 119. Yeah, there was a lot of killing. We're just starting, Mr. Wick. Okay.
Oh, one of the best lines of the movie.
She played a fantastic role. But I'm going 155.
155. That seems really high, doesn't it?
Oh, is that not enough?
It's not enough. The actual number is 167 just in the third movie alone. That brings, I added it up, his total body count in just the 3 movies. This is after he retired, mind you.
He's retired, yeah.
He was also a hitman before this. That's 377. By the time we get John Wick 4, his body count will be in the 500s.
Because at this rate, you have to go higher and higher.
You can't not. If they take it back to 91, I'm going to say, what happened to John Wick?
Dude, that would be a letdown. Now, I think we have to go back and actually count for ourselves. Because that just seems unreal. I watched that film. What was the last total? 167 or something?
167.
If I was watching, I don't remember seeing that many deaths. But,
I feel like there's a couple where it's just like, well, okay, is he dead right there? I know
dead.
I know there's a knife there, but you could theoretically live.
All right, real quick, Chapter 4, what are you thinking? How many? That better be a long film.
I'm going to go 175.
I think a steady increase.
Yeah.
They have to start slowing down.
Not much, but 175, I think that's a fair number.
At this point. But if you see part 3, you know who they're going to be, what they're going towards. Do you think 4 finishes it up? Because that would, impact the death totals. The fact that they're using chapters in their titles kind of gives me the sense that they're going farther.
Right.
On Netflix, they have the Sabrina, the Teenage Witch. Instead of seasons, they're called chapters on Netflix. So
like a book.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they made a book, or it's after a book, of course, and they've already announced seasons 4 or 5. So they're going on. What about John Wick?
I feel like there's not many movies where I come out and I'm just like, gosh, I really hope they don't make another, unless it was something really, really bad. Like I saw Grinch last December and I was just like, boy, I hope they don't do another one of those. I want them to just keep making them until they start losing money.
Just push it to the end.
Just
bleed it dry.
I want to see John Wick Chapter 8. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Do you think there's a lot of that world to expand on? Kind of like Game of Thrones. The books are 800,000 pages long. The show is just ginormous. Do you want to see more of that world? Do you think there's a lot to go with it?
There's so much, 3 movies into this thing, and there's still so much we don't know.
It's based in New York at the Continental. It was kind of giving me, if you see part 3, it was kind of giving me if you watch Gotham. They have the Owls, the Owl Court.
Oh, the Court of Owls.
Something kind of similar in 3. And you kind of just knew about that in 1 and 2, that there was a higher, people that they respond to. They're bosses in a sense. And I really like that. But they can keep going.
Absolutely. I feel like they got a lot of material to go with here. It just, is anybody ever going to get tired of seeing John Wick kill somebody? No.
I can watch him, Keanu Reeves, all day.
Absolutely.
But at a certain point, do you think he gets remarried?
I hope not.
No? Just
no,
keep
I hope
it
not.
going.
Just keep it going.
Stay depressed.
Yeah.
Keep
that's
that
the best
vengeful
part.
Side. Well, he can't technically wear a ring anymore, but that's for another day.
It would be difficult.
That might be one of your favorite scenes. We'll see. But that's going to do it for this after version for John Wick 3 Parabellum Spence. Thanks again. It's always fun.
It was a blast.
That's going to do it for before and after. I'm Vince.
I'm Spence.
We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.